currently happening in the Nashville real estate market as of August 2022? If you're curious, then stay tuned because I'm tackling that in today's video. And if you are somebody who's been paying attention to headlines and you're worried about what is happening in the real estate market, I've got some good news for you when it comes to Nashville. All of that and more in today's video. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin Martin and I am a local Nashville real estate agent and founder of the Caitlin Martin team powered by 𝐋𝐈𝐊𝐄 Realtors, the Andrews Group. I specialize in working with savvy sellers who want to sell right and sell smart, as well as helping out-of-staters looking to relocate to the Middle Tennessee area. If this is your first time stopping by my channel, thank you so much. Please feel free to click subscribe down below so that you are notified anytime I release new video content. So in today's video, we're going to be tackling what in the world is currently happening in this Nashville real estate market. What do you need to know if you're thinking about making a move? And we're going to be looking at the numbers. Plus, as promised, there has been a new report that's come out that if you're somebody that reads headlines and are worried about an economic downturn, again, good news where Nashville's concerned. So we will make sure that we get to that. So let's first dive into the numbers and what's been happening in our real estate market. So if you haven't caught any of my recent previous videos, Nashville has started to see a bit of a stabilization happening in our market. So whereas through most of 2021 into 2022, we were seeing unprecedented, which I don't know if you're like me, but I'm getting tired of that word. We had seen unprecedented real estate market conditions, meaning that we were watching homes fly off the market, sometimes not even make it to market, going exceedingly over list price, and inventory was critically low, which helped drive the insanity that we were seeing within our real estate market. Then April of this year rolled around, and towards the end of April, beginning of May, we really started to see our market start to hit the brakes just a little bit. So does this mean that Nashville is all of a sudden taking this big downturn? Absolutely not. We are still very much in a seller's market. And what is a seller's market? Maybe you've heard that term and you aren't quite sure what it actually means, because there's a seller's market, a normalized market, and a buyer's market. Well, a seller's market is any time that it takes a house 4 or less months to sell. We're sitting in that 5 to 6 month range is normal, and then anything 6+ is going to be a buyer's market. So we're still very much in a seller's market, and Nashville has been a seller's market for pretty much the last 10 years or so. We've just had different ebbs and flows, with the real peak of it coming in the last 16 months or so. But now, where our market had been giving us all of this excess, now all of a sudden we're really starting to reabsorb the excess that we had been given and really reaching a far more stabilized seller's market. So when we take a look at numbers that come from the Greater Nashville Realtors organization, they come out every month and they are tracking the data for all of Middle Tennessee. When we look at those numbers for July of 2022, home sales in the Middle Tennessee area were actually down 19% from July of last year. So this shouldn't come as a surprise, knowing that our market really has started to see the brakes get hit just a little bit. And again, doesn't mean we're crashing, it just means that we are reaching more normalized real estate market conditions. So that's not surprising. Now here is something that is surprising, because I've been watching it and I can see it on the MLS, but we are seeing more inventory come to market, but the numbers are a little dramatic. So when we look at what our inventory levels were in July of 2021, we were just over 5,000 homes on the market. It was actually 5,097 homes that were on the market in July of last year. But then when we look at the number of homes that are on the market as of July of 2022, we were actually at 8,957 homes. So as you can see, it's not quite double, but we have seen a dramatic uptick in the number of homes that have come to market. So what does this mean? So it means that as a buyer, you have far more opportunity, and it means that whereas last year you were pretty much guaranteed for the most part to deal with a really competitive multiple offer situation, now that's not necessarily the case. I always like to caution people, we still have competitive price points where you definitely still see multiple offer situations. And if a home comes to market, it's priced right, it's marketed well, it shows well, it's still going quickly. However, we are seeing far less multiple offer situations, which means if you've dealt with buyer burnout, maybe you tried to buy last year and you just got burnt out of the situation, now is still a great time to buy. Have interest rates gone up? Yes, they have, especially from where they were this time last year. But I always like to tell people, the best time to buy in Nashville was yesterday. The next best time is today, and the next best time after that will be tomorrow. Because there's a lot of things that we cannot necessarily control, but what we do know right now is that it's still a great time to buy. Is it the best time ever? No. But alternately, if you're a seller, is now the best time to sell. It's not the best time in the history of our Nashville real estate market. That would have been either at the beginning of this year or through the peak of the wild ride that we were on last year, but it still doesn't mean it's a bad time. It's far from the worst time to sell, and it's far from the worst time to buy. So this still makes it a great market depending on what side you're on. So if we are taking a look at home prices, so I know that I've already mentioned, last year homes were going exceedingly over list price. Now we are actually starting to see some price reductions, but does this mean that appreciation is going away? It does not. It just means that where we were seeing this 4% over 4% every month last year, we are not seeing that this year. It's far more stabilized and it has leveled out. Are homes still appreciating? Yes, they are. Just again, not at those wild rates that we had seen last year. So let's actually take a look at what home sale prices are for Franklin, Brentwood, and Nolensville, all of which are located inside Williamson County. Let's see what those home sale prices were landing at in July of 2022. So first up, Franklin, the average home sale price for a single family home in July of 22 was $850,000, and that is actually up almost 30% from last year. It's actually sitting at 29.8% up from the same time last year. And let's actually quickly, before we move on, let's actually compare that to what the average home sale price was in Franklin in July of last year. And the average home sale price in July of 2021 for Franklin was $655,000. So yes, home sale prices are still going up, but what we expect to see as we move forward is it's going to be far more stabilized in normal appreciation versus going on kind of a wild ride. Now let's go back and take a look at Brentwood and see what the average home sale price was in Brentwood for July of 2022 for a single family home. That home sale price was $1,075,000, and that's actually an increase of 22.2% from the same time last year. And let's actually look at what it was last year. So in Brentwood in July of 2021, so again, last year, the average home sale price in Brentwood was $880,000. And now let's take a look at Nolensville. So Nolensville, a single family home in July of 2022, the average home sale price was $720,000. And that's actually an increase of 28.8%. Now let's take a look at what it was last year in Nolensville. The average home sale price for a single family home was $558,932. So as you can see, yes, home prices are still going up, but here's the great news. So especially if you're somebody that's really trying to target the Brentwood, Franklin, Nolensville area, we are, like I mentioned prior, we are starting to see some slight price reductions in terms of where the list price is and where it is sitting now. Again, this is not setting the stage for us to have this big real estate market downturn. It's just that sellers are just having to be more conservative with their pricing as we move into this different phase of the market. The real estate market here is always living and breathing and moving and changing. And so we have to adjust to that. So whereas sellers could get away a little bit with getting price aggressive last year, that's not the case now. Now, if we want to take a look at what the average price per square foot was in Franklin, in Nolensville, and in Brentwood, I'm going to preface it with this. So we are looking at what the average price per square foot is for a single family home across all price ranges. But there is a caveat to that. In each of these different communities, once you reach a certain price point, that price per square foot does normally take a bit of a noticeable uptick. So I'm gonna first give you what the average price per square foot is in each of these areas, and then we're gonna take a look at what price point does that start to make a shift. So first off, the average price per square foot for a single family home in Franklin was $331. Now, if we take a look at Brentwood, in Brentwood, it's actually $308. And then if we take a look in Nolensville, Nolensville sits at $255. But let's actually compare that to then where those price shifts start to happen. So in Franklin, we really start to notice a shift in the average price per square foot when you get close to that $812,000 range. So whereas when you're looking at all price ranges, that average price per square foot is $331. Once you start to hit $812,000 and above, then the average price per square foot jumps up to $374 a square foot. Now in Brentwood, that shift actually happens at around 1.1 million. So whereas in all price ranges, Brentwood is at $308 a square foot. Once you hit 1.1, then that shifts to $362 price per square foot. And then in Nolensville, that shift actually happens around $559,000. So again, to recap, in Nolensville for all price ranges, that average price per square foot is $255. Whereas once you eclipse that $559,000 price point, then that average price per square foot shifts to $268 a square foot. A couple of things that I really want to make sure that I reiterate here is the fact that Nashville, we are still a seller's market. We are still moving at a healthy pace. Again, the key word is healthy because where we had been before was just not sustainable. So we are still in a seller's market. There is still, especially at certain price points, the opportunity for multiple offer situations to still occur. However, there are less multiple offer situations happening. So that does give you a little bit more freedom of choice and your ability to truly choose a house. Now, if you are the only offer on the table as a buyer, this actually gives you back a little bit more of negotiating power because you're not competing against dozens of other offers. Now, you may be saying that these average home sale prices for Williamson County seem high, but here's the thing. So when you actually look at the median home sale price in Nashville and you're comparing that to the top 50 largest metro areas in the US, Nashville is still under that national average, believe it or not. And Nashville is actually the 21st largest city in the US. But one thing you have to take into account is the numbers that I am giving you, they're coming from Williamson County. Williamson County tends to have a higher price range versus other counties in the area. That's not to say that there are not more expensive homes in other parts of the Middle Tennessee area. It's just you have a bit of a higher concentration. So, but overall, if you're looking at Nashville in general, we are still sitting below the national average when it comes to the median home sale price, which is great news. And here's something else as we start to look at this bigger picture of what's going on and how Nashville plays into it. So I did mention, yes, we absolutely have more inventory on the market, especially more inventory than what we have seen. Now, at the peak of the wild ride that we had been on the last 2 years, when you looked at what the lowest inventory was, it was sitting right around 3,000 to 3,500 homes. And now we're sitting really close to 9,000 homes on the market. But before that causes alarm, we have to take a look at the bigger picture, which tells us a different story than what some headlines can make you fearful of. So when you actually look, the National Association of Realtors says that if we're looking at the country as a whole, we are actually still about 5.5 million homes short of where we would need to be in order to match the demand that we are seeing across the country. So here's the thing, Nashville, we have a lot going for us because I realize that you can say, well, Caitlin, that's on a national scale, but we still have local impacts and things that are really working in Nashville's favor as we move forward in this new normalized real estate market. So here's the thing. Nashville, we are continuing to see a heavy relocation buyer population, and that is great news for us. Not only do we have buyers moving here for personal reasons, but we also have companies who are relocating their headquarters here, which is bringing more jobs, it's bringing more people here, which is great news for us. Did you know that Nashville is actually ranked as the #4 market for population and job growth across the US, that again speaks to the fact that we continue to have headquarters relocated here, the fact that people continue to move here. And if you haven't caught any of my other previous recent real estate market updates, here's a couple of statistics for you. We are expected to have another 200,000 people move to the Middle Tennessee area by 2025, and that averages out to about 109 people a day. So we have this larger population coming in the near future, but then the University of Tennessee put out a study that says that by 2040, the state of Tennessee is expected to absorb another 1 million people, with 57% of that 1 million landing in the Middle Tennessee area. We have a lot of growth happening and a lot of projected growth coming. Nashville has a lot working for it. And if you don't believe me, maybe you'll believe this study. Nashville really has a lot going for it, and we continue to grow like weeds. So here's the thing. Maybe you've seen this, maybe you haven't. But in recent weeks, there have been these images that have gone viral within the Nashville community. And these images are by a local Franklin man who has sketched out what our proposed skyline could look like within the next 3 to 4 years. So let's take a look at these images. So when you take a look at these images, again, this is the proposed skyline based on projects that are either planned, proposed, in the works. So let's actually take a look at what the different colors mean. So the red buildings, those are buildings that are currently under construction. Teal is proposed buildings, green is proposed, but they've been delayed, and purple is projected, but still undefined. So is this a guarantee of what the Nashville skyline is gonna become here in the next couple of years? No, because as you probably know, sometimes projects fall apart or people plan and take their plans elsewhere. But Nashville is still expected to grow just by what you can see from those images. Now, I know at the beginning of this video, I told you that you're gonna wanna stick around because there's great news where Nashville is concerned. So there was recently a study that came out from the Special Housing Risk Report, and this analyzed cities across the US to see which ones were gonna be most vulnerable in the event of a downturn. But similarly, they actually looked at the 10 cities that would be least vulnerable to a downturn. And guess where Nashville landed between those two lists? Nashville landed on the top 10 list of cities that is least vulnerable to a downturn. So it didn't say Nashville specifically, it actually listed out Davidson County, which is the county that's right encompassing of the heart of downtown Nashville and the neighborhoods right around it. And then it also had Williamson County, which is where the Franklin, Brentwood, Nolensville, those communities are. So it's just south of Davidson. It actually touches Davidson. And then there was Rutherford County. Rutherford County is where you're gonna find towns like Murfreesboro. So those 3 cities out of the entire US landed on a list of the top 10 cities that are least vulnerable to a downturn. So hopefully that gives you more comfort in terms of Nashville has a lot going for it despite what is happening on a bigger scale. We do have a lot working for us and working within our local economy that as we are looking out past the next couple of months, if we're projecting into the future, Nashville is still a great place to land. If you are looking to move here, this is still a great place to be, because I know a lot of times people say, well, what happens if it's a downturn? Nashville overall, again, I don't have a crystal ball and I can't tell you exactly what's gonna happen because there are so many things that I cannot control. But if we're having to hedge our bets and take a look at what Nashville has going for it, in the Gulch, there was actually the W Hotel. It was recently completed in October of 2021. So they actually had a couple of hospitality groups outbid one another. They were in a multiple offer situation earlier this year, and the W Hotel actually sold for $328.7 million, which makes that $950,000 a door in that hotel. So if that speaks to anything, that you had these hospitality groups who were bidding because they wanted that asset, because they believe in Nashville so much. So if you are thinking about making a move, or if you have questions about specific things within our real estate market, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. All of my contact information is below. And if you are ready to actually start that conversation about what it looks like to move here, there's actually a link down below to go ahead and book a Zoom with me so we can get that conversation started. Again, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to me. My name is Caitlin Martin. I'll see you next time.